It was a scorching July afternoon, the kind that could melt asphalt and fry an egg on the hood of a pickup. The ranch shimmered in the heat haze, and my pool, a crystal blue oasis surrounded by cedar decking, looked like heaven. But that summer, water was gold. The county had just issued a drought restriction order, meaning every drop had to be accounted for. So, I decided to close my pool early for the season. I drained half the water, covered it, and locked the gate. Simple, right? Wrong, because Susan saw it. Now, Susan didn't just live nearby. She watched nearby like a hawk. She had binoculars, motion alerts, and apparently nothing better to do. By sundown, she was standing at my gate in her big straw hat, tapping her clipboard like she was auditioning for NCIS, HOA division. "Mr. Bennett," she called out, "why is your pool drained? HOA regulations require all visible water features to be maintained year-round." I wiped my hands on a rag and stared at her. "Susan, there's a drought order. You know, that county-wide rule about not wasting water." She sniffed. "The HOA supersedes county orders." I laughed out loud. "Susan, unless the HOA owns the water supply, I don't think so." She frowned. "I'll have to report this." "Be my guest," I said, "but you might want to Google jurisdiction before you do." The next morning, I was out feeding the horses when I saw flashing lights by the pool gate. 2 police SUVs, an HOA representative, and Susan, standing with her arms crossed, like she'd just busted a drug cartel. One officer waved me over. "Sir, we got a call from the HOA claiming you illegally drained a community pool." I blinked. "Community pool? This is my private ranch." Susan interrupted. "It appears to be private, but it affects the aesthetic cohesion of the neighborhood. That gives the HOA jurisdiction." The officer raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, that's not how the law works." Still, they had to file a report. Susan smirked the whole time, thinking she'd gotten me in trouble. But here's where the story flips. What she didn't know, what no one in the HOA knew, was that my pool's water came from a shared well that supplied part of the surrounding neighborhood. Years ago, I had helped design the infrastructure that piped water to several nearby homes, including hers. And according to the county drought order, any misuse of the water system, like filing a false claim that led to unnecessary drainage checks, triggered a fine. Not just a small one, a $2.5 million environmental fine. 2 weeks later, the HOA president called me. His voice was shaking. Mr. Bennett, apparently we're under investigation from the county's water authority. Something about unauthorized enforcement actions and interference with drought protocols." I grinned. "Oh, yeah. That happens when someone calls law enforcement over legal water usage. The state doesn't like false reports." Susan burst into the call. I could hear her through the speaker. "This is outrageous. You can't punish us for protecting the community image." I replied, "Susan, your community image just cost the HOA. $2.5 million, maybe next time, let the experts handle water management." A month later, the fine was finalized. The HOA was forced to liquidate part of its beautification fund and cancel their pet project, a massive decorative fountain Susan had proposed for the entrance of the neighborhood. And the best part? The county issued me an official commendation for complying with drought protocol and protecting regional water integrity. Susan nearly exploded when she saw the county post about it on Town Square. Local ranch owner commended for conservation efforts after false HOA complaint. The comments section was brutal. One neighbor wrote, "Susan tried to sink him. ended up drowning the HOA. A few weeks later, she tried to walk by and mutter something about unfair regulations. I just smiled, lifted my glass of iced tea and said, "Stay hydrated, Susan. You're paying for it now." She stormed off, muttering something about moving to a neighborhood that respects authority. Subscribe to HOA Conflict Story for more.